Hey there, it's your host, Eric, from the Machine of Nonsense. Before we get to the bracket of nonsense, I just wanted to let everyone know this will be a spoiler-heavy discussion. We can't really describe these characters in full without, kind of really going into spoiler territory, given big plot points of the various games, movies, and TV shows that they are a part of. So if you're afraid of spoilers, I would just recommend maybe skipping forward when a particular character is being talked about, just in case, if you really care about that character and you really care about spoilers. So just wanted to warn you guys, and on to the episode. Hey there, it's the Machine of Nonsense, episode 44, and we are starting round 3 of the bracket of nonsense. We have a sweet 16 left. We started with 64. We have 16 remaining on our bracket. We're going to get to those matchups in just a second. I'm your host, Eric, joined as always by Kayla.
Hey.
And we got Mike.
Bracket.
Tomas.
25 episodes till we hit 69.
And Aaron.
Hello.
Oh, that wasn't as good as the other ones. No.
I
want to make a quick comment on that fact. Being married to Eric has made it impossible for me to take somebody's blood pressure at work, not nod to myself when they have over 69. Yeah. Just secretly to myself behind them.
If somebody ever has blood pressure of 420, they're probably not feeling too good.
Curses of Eric.
Yeah, my blood pressure stays 420 over 69. My doctor says I'm gonna die any day, but
clinically dead.
I'm fine. I'll be all right. Stay off the salts, kids. So we've got the bracket of nonsense, round 3. We're starting off with a banger. They're all bangers at this point. Leslie Knope versus Cliff Booth, everyone. Leslie Knope from Parks and Recreation, the wonderful TV show, and Cliff Booth from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino's most recent masterpiece, let's call it. It's a good movie. So,
time to see where people's loyalties lie.
Yeah. We've talked in length about both of these characters. Leslie Knope has taken down so far Daniel Plainview and Mabel Pines to get this far. Cliff Booth took down Solid Snake and Walter Kovacs to get this far. So
in hand-to-hand combat, just
absolutely.
He did.
Believe it on both of their characters.
So they're all great characters at this point. We're in the Sweet 16. We've talked a lot about the positivity of Leslie and just the overall charisma of Cliff Booth. I think what we should talk about now is, why is Leslie better than Cliff, or Cliff better than Leslie, and extol those virtues.
This is hard.
It's tough. Full disclosure, me and Kayla talked a little bit about this morning on our morning walk, because it's a tough fucking matchup.
Yep.
And I've yet to make a decision for myself. So
yeah, I don't know which one I prefer either.
I know where my heart's leaning.
I think there's the normal issue of we got how many seasons and episodes and hours of Leslie, and then just 2 hours of Cliff. So it seems like sometimes it could be a little off. And originally, my argument for Leslie would be she has a character that has no real depth. Like 90% of her character can be summed up in positivity, breakfast foods, and Ben Wyatt, and that's
Valentine's Day.
Right, that's her
like
entire
all of
show.
those things.
Right, but that's her the entire show. They don't switch it up. That's just her. But the thing is, Cliff Booth isn't a deep and soulful character either. He's just fun and charismatic. So
That's why we like these people.
I know it's just hard to.
We want to be these people in some regards.
I'm okay.
I mean, on one hand, Cliff Booth killed his wife. Kind of a
Ooh.
dirtbag. He's kind of shitty for that.
Allegedly
Nope.
killed his wife.
Mm.
There's stuff out there.
You read the novelization.
It ends.
We're not going off
Cliff,
that.
He killed his wife.
It's just one line. That's all.
It was the
Yes.
60s, man. Everyone was killed in their life.
So-
You're not wrong.
Since you put it that
Product of
way.
his time.
Okay.
Oh,
I mean, Leslie does have highs and lows. She has moments where she does stuff that's just totally irresponsible in a
Mark
way.
Brandanowitz.
Yeah, lest we forget
At the end of
season
the
1.
episode, she wraps it up. It's not.
Brandana quits.
That's why I love her.
yeah, I don't think Leslie has a like mean-spirited bone in her body. She's always going to put someone else ahead of, herself. And Cliff honestly, Cliff does that a lot. I mean, he does a lot for Rick. I think his heart is with Rick. Like he would put Rick above himself in a lot of situations, I think. But you could argue that's for self-preservation as well.
Good point.
So is he just ultimately a fully selfish character, or is there some selfishness in there? That's
You know,
a
we
tough
can
one
have
to say.
we can have a debate on whether or not altruism is really a thing, or if not everything is a means of preservation.
Yeah, I think we should get into that. Let's get into does altruism exist? No.
I think Rick and Cliff's bond is pretty genuine in the movie. That's how I come off with it. Like Cliff will hang out with him and watch his episode of fucking Bounty Law with him because he knows like it's a big thing for Rick, and he's gonna. So I don't think there's that much self-preservation, because if it was, he would have convinced Rick to take the job in Italy right away. He would have been like, "Yeah, man, you got to do this." It's, but he leaves it up to Rick, and he's gonna like we said before, just ride out this journey together. Because once Rick is out of the movies, he's not going to be able to keep Cliff around, and maybe their friendship does dissolve without the the working relationship too. So maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Just savoring the moment, man. It's like, even if it's got to come to an end, enjoy it while you're in it.
I think it's a really interesting friendship and really unique, and anything that makes me lean towards Cliff more. Honestly, I like that a lot. So,
oof, that's tough.
Wow, man, we already got some.
Wow.
All right.
It's tough, man. I mean, it's a evenly matched matchup. If you take apart the aspect that we have a lot of Leslie, like Aaron said, we got to see kind of every moment of her story. Everything going back to her as a kid. Like we know her childhood and stuff. We don't know that necessarily about Cliff, but maybe we don't need to.
It was probably a pretty bitchin' childhood,
Yeah.
Bikes and more bikes.
Fun.
He had a rifle as a kid. I'm certain.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he just rode around with it.
Oh yeah.
Gun of some kind, or just a gun, just a real gun.
So it's kind of like the ultimate kind of like dorky character with a heart of gold versus just like the coolest dude in the room, who maybe has a dark heart. It's
but maybe he doesn't.
Maybe his wife sucked.
That's a good point too. You don't know.
I think his wife did suck, but I think he still murdered his wife.
Just like leave her, right? You don't gotta like throw her in the ocean.
All valid points.
Cliff has pretty good aim, so I'm pretty sure she didn't feel a thing. It was very fast.
Well, if you read the novelization,
she probably said, "Hey, Cliff, can you please kill me?"
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, she was begging for it.
right. He didn't want to.
Whole lot of Cliff talking.
A lot of Cliff.
Haven't heard much about Leslie.
I think he's just a much more fun character. That's like really interesting. Like I said, they had how many seasons of Leslie, and they never thought to give her any other angle of what she is.
It's a good angle. The angle works so well with everyone else, with April and Ron
Yeah.
and Ben, and like it.
I'm not
Man.
like critically looking at these characters about like their development. That's just not how I enjoy my media. So that doesn't bother me at all. Like if I would continue to watch Leslie Knope be Leslie Knope. It's not a dramatic show where I'm watching it to see somebody develop into a different person who might not be as cool as she is right now because she's pretty dope.
And I think she's my favorite version of that archetype. Like, she's definitely like a thing, she's like that ultra positive character. We talked about it with like Mabel Pines and stuff, like how they're similar. But yeah, Leslie's just my favorite version of that character. Regardless if that's a great character or not, like that whole archetype of just like, oh, fountain of positivity and gets in and out of trouble, with their perkiness.
But she would go to bat for the people she loves. She would do dirty, like dark things for the people that she loves. No doubt about it.
Yeah, well, they do a good job at like portraying like her character over, like they put her in uncomfortable situations, and I think she reacts in a very human fashion, like to the point where like, because she's a person like you guys all mentioned, she go up to bat, she's very strong and firm in her ideals, but even like when backed into like corners that like go against set ideals or anything like that, she reacts very humanly. It's not like she just an automatic like, well, I know what's right and I know what's wrong. It's like, oh shit, it's like, how do I choose this? Her relationship with Ben at first, she before she's married to the Ben, she's married to her career, and she wants a slice of that cake, but she doesn't want to lose her job, and and I think they portray like those, like she's more than just like this, perfect chipper, like goes through life without any kind of consequence kind of person. She's a real person, and I think that that show does a very good job at like just portraying that with its characters, even though it's like a goofy backdrop, they still go through like very human things. I don't know, I like stuff like that. Cliff Booth's awesome. I would like to say that at one point in my life, I lived very fast and loose and very charismatically, and I'm a little bit older now, and I've had consequences because of those actions. So I enjoy a little bit more of stability, and I like shit like that in my TV shows too. Leslie Knope is more of a character that's akin to like how I feel in life. Cliff Booth is how I used to be. It's like, but no, it was like, I don't know. I know where I'm leaning, but like I knew these, the Sweet 16 was gonna be like when we're all starting to like start seeing each other's true colors. Start like, it's like I'm looking at Mike and I'm like, It's like there's a few on here that I don't want to go up the bat against them with. But
And don't.
This bracket has put me and Mike constantly on the wrong sides of the playground. But I don't know, man. I like both of these characters. I'm leaning Leslie. Like I'm just gonna say like Leslie Knope for president, 2024.
A thought just occurred to me, like if I was trying to like recommend someone to like check something out, whether I would recommend more people to watch Parks and Rec because of Leslie Knope, or more people to watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood because of Cliff Booth. Just like making a general recommendation to friends, family, etc. or someone I just met on the street and said like, "Hey, man, I don't know you, but I'm gonna make recommendations for things that you're gonna love," because I
Booth
just do that.
Cliff Booth is definitely the best part of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but it is a harder whole film to swallow than I think Parks and Rec is.
Ooh.
That's kind of tough because the first season of Parks is not exceptional.
Right.
You kind of have to get through that
Yeah.
for the show to
Yep.
really, get rolling and find its pocket.
Yeah, it
So,
took a while for it to get its figure out what
Right.
it wanted to be.
Like I've recommended Parks and Rec and said you might need to just ignore most of the first season because it's uncomfortable and sort of badly written, and
Yeah, it's a little rough, but it becomes something so much more beautiful. I think by
that would be
season
true of
3,
most shows.
True.
by season
That is
3,
true.
that show absolutely knows what it is and what it's going for.
Yeah, and it might be due to the medium, it being a show, but it might be easier to like say, "Oh yeah, just check out like here's 5 of my favorite episodes and of Parks and Rec that I think Leslie shines in," versus like I don't know, like if you just show like my favorite scene in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is the Spawn Ranch like whole thing. Does that hit just going in cold, like, because that's like what 40 minutes
it
into
could do
the movie, maybe. Like, I don't know if you don't see
Keeping with-
if you don't see Cliff and Rick and like know what they're about and start to really like them throughout the first whatever 40 minutes hour of that movie, and you just see Cliff. Does it hit the same? I don't know. I can't say one. I know how it hit for me was like I already super was into Cliff at that point. And then I'm like really afraid for his life because I like him.
because of the flashback scene, because of the scenes with Rick. Like, there's other stuff besides the Spawn Ranch scene.
A better example, because that's like a story, a big part of the story, and people going into that cold probably wouldn't be excited. But think how many people like shared his interaction with Bruce Lee, like on Facebook. People who hadn't seen the movie who liked that scene went into that scene cold, having seen nothing else, and really liked it because it's a really good scene with a really good character.
Yeah, maybe that's just a better example of that, of taking that. So
Yeah. Leslie is the best character in Parks and Rec, arguably.
I don't agree
But
with
she's
that.
not my favorite character.
We
in Parks and
got
Rec,
a
if that makes
Ben
sense.
Wyatt on the same side.
I prefer
coming
Ben
down
Wyatt.
the line.
I prefer Ben. I prefer a
picked
few
Ben.
other characters over Leslie, but
wow.
to me, Leslie is the core, and she has
Yeah.
all these
She's the sun, and everything
atoms
revolves.
flying around her all the
Yeah.
time, and
He's like the city in Sex and the City.
Oh yes.
such a Samantha thing to say. Man, I don't know. We coming to a vote here. We vote.
Oh.
Let's get it to a vote, folks. Who wants to start?
Oh, Cliff.
I'll go Leslie.
Gosh.
I just got more time with Leslie.
Right, but then that would mean a TV show is just always going to win.
No, I'm just saying, like, personally, like, it to me, it was overall a more special experience.
So I'm going to use a thing that I've used in the past. I think even maybe to it might have even been in the Leslie Daniel Plainview that I used it. Leslie is my favorite Amy Poehler thing that I've ever, checked out. Cliff is not my favorite Brad Pitt character. He might not even be my favorite Brad Pitt character in a Quentin Tarantino thing.
Oh wow, yeah.
Okay.
It's up there. It's close, but
correcto.
I love Aldo Raines. So
That's better than that.
I think they're like 1A and 1B, like you could, it's a toss up for me, but like, it's not a toss up for me with Leslie. So I'm good. Basically all that is to say, I'm going to go Leslie.
Okay.
gonna go Leslie. I came in here knowing I was gonna go Leslie, and with all of the things you guys said, I was like, damn, maybe Cliff is. I mean, I do love Cliff. I do, and it's not even like Eric's thing. It's just like, who do I want to spend more time with would be Leslie. Like, I enjoy my time with Leslie more than I think I would with Cliff. Like, I think it could just get kind of that I could fall off of pretty easily, I think. I mean, for me, Cliff also adds eye candy to it. Like, but do I want to marry Cliff? No. Do I want to marry Leslie? Yes.
I want to marry Ben Wyatt.
I abstain.
Your last push though, almost swayed me, like, because Leslie is not my favorite character on Parks and Rec. She is a very important character. Actually, I didn't even put her on this bracket, but I'm still leaning her. I still feel like my reasoning is still leaning towards her.
Cliff is great. He's real great.
Cliff is great.
Sad to see him go.
So yeah, none of these characters are bad.
Any last minute objections? No. Are we just running with Leslie?
I mean, this sweet 16.
I'm the one that voted for.
All right. So Leslie Knope moves in to, what is that, the semifinals? Round 4. I don't know how it works with all this.
I don't know.
She moves in to round 4. The round of 8, I think, is what they call it in like
Elite 8, man.
Elite 8. Well, I think it's like the round of 8 in like World Cup or something like that. So whatever.
This ain't no World Cup.
Hey man, we got a lot of non-US listeners, so
they like basketball out there.
Yeah, they got basketball out in Europe, man.
Yeah, but it's like FIBA and stuff. All right,
that's where like people go after
we need the bish.
Coming back from an injury.
FIBA, who knows,
Leslie Knope makes it to the Elite 8. We'll call it. All right, next matchup: Ahsoka Tano versus Big Boss. So Ahsoka Tano from Star Wars: The Clone Wars versus Big Boss from the Metal Gear series.
Metal Gear.
Interesting matchup. I don't think there's a lot of parallels here. I guess two people breaking from their government or whatever you want to say. Ahsoka breaking from the Council of the Jedi, and Big Boss breaking from his country and his government. And so I guess there's a little bit there, but both badass characters, obviously. They're both known for their awesome, basically superhuman abilities. Only one of them is actually a human, so
look, man, world's best soldier.
How many times does Ahsoka fake her death?
I don't think Ahsoka ever fakes her death. Do you remember faking death, Kayla, at all?
Well, Big Boss is at like 7. Okay.
Roughly.
I mean, she's disappeared, so people might think she's dead, but she didn't like...
Oh, yeah, they definitely thought she died with Order 66, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Have they cloned her?
So 7-1.
Yeah.
Like, come on, it's pretty lopsided.
Right.
You have clones.
Ahsoka is mine, and just to highlight things we've already talked about, just Ahsoka's a very a true hero. She's the person who always wants to do the right thing to save people and help people, and that's truly, truly down to her core. And she fights with that. Whatever the government is, I can't think of their name right now.
The Senate, Republic.
Yeah.
They're the worst.
I just love Ahsoka. This is a hard matchup. I'm not a Metal Gear person, so I know you guys all love it, and I would love to know more about it. I truly would.
Just play.
Hard to go back. It's hard to go back to those. I would enjoy it, and yeah, there's a lot of time that you've had with him. This is tough.
About the same. I mean, at least for me, who I've seen every Clone Wars I've seen everything Ahsoka Tano's ever been in, and
There you go.
I've seen everything that Big Boss has ever been in. So there, but honestly, it's probably I've spent about the same amount of time with the two characters, personally. Good time. I've spent a lot of good time with both characters.
At a
I
very
think
intimate-
Portable Ops really tips the scales.
Yeah.
Here for me, that one's classic. No, I don't know. Yeah, it's weird how similar the characters are again in the way of how they,
both of their governments.
they get this. Big Boss was a hero, turns to be a villain.
Depending on who you ask.
With Big Boss, I should have asked this probably in earlier rounds with you guys, but so Metal Gear Solid 3 is a standout in the series, and that's where he's front and center. He's the character you play as, and he's fantastic in that game. Do you guys like? My biggest detraction from Big Boss is kind of like the rest of the story. He's either just like a bad guy in the background. He's faked his death. Like he's just like a plot device in a lot of that, as opposed to someone who has a ton of like wonderful dialogue or something like he does in 3. Like he's really great in 3. He's got some great back and forth with the boss and everything, and just like he does some cool shit. He's awesome. He's the world's greatest soldier. But then he kind of just falls to the background, and maybe that doesn't matter, but it's always kind of rubbed me the wrong way, I guess.
I mean, you have 3, maybe just 2. I don't know how Venom's. It's weird. Metal Gear's weird, but
it's very weird.
You get 2 more games to play as him. You get Metal Gear. You get Phantom Pain, where you think you're playing as him the whole time, but it really wasn't. Even though the guy is brainwashed to be Big Boss, so you pretty much are.
Does that count? Like for you, I guess like that counts like 5.
Well, yeah, he's got a robot arm, man. I'm not throwing away the robot arm card.
They circled that square. It's tied into the canon. Metal Gear 1, you kill him. So,
but then he becomes like the Tony Stark of the story. Like he's just this ghost that how Tony is now in Marvel. We got anything more to say? We voting or?
I got a sweet Metal Gear Solid 3. Like I feel like I'm always kind of lean towards that direction. Just I had one of the greatest experiences of my young adult life playing that video game.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's a great game. This one's a tough one for me in the fact that I can't use the Leslie Knope argument I just used. Neither of these are like my favorite. Like Ahsoka's not my favorite Star Wars character, and Big Boss isn't my favorite Metal Gear character. So like it's
evens out there. You can't use that one.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough for me.
I already lost the boss. Metal Gear Solid is such a near and dear series to my heart, and I'm a huge fan of Big Boss too. Like, I'm not wrong. Like the boss barely edged out my pick for the Big Boss, but I also kind of lean towards the idea somebody's probably gonna put Big Boss on the bracket, and I was right. But like I don't know, man, that series is so near and dear to my heart. It's hard to follow a lot of times too. Like, but I've read shit. I've watched videos. Throughout the years. Like I've done my best to try to understand everything that's happened in that series. But I don't know, man. It's I mean, to me, I know where I'm going on this one. But Big Boss, man, he's my dude, bro. Like I get that he went off the rails. I get that, and I understand your argument, Eric. Is he just like a backdrop for plot? Like, could he have put anybody in the same position to let all this stuff happen to? But that's not the case. It happened to Big Boss. And I just enjoy the character. You put Solid Snake on here. Solid Snake is just a clone of Big Boss. different in personality and how he reacts to like situations and stuff like that. But
Yeah, I don't know that Snake is much of a character without that tie
Yeah.
to Big Boss and him and Liquid. Who's got the good genes, who's got the bad genes.
I agree wholeheartedly, but I think that's what makes, not to argue for Snake right now, but I think that's a cool like aspect, just like dealing with your legacy, like
Yes.
that's what I like about Snake, but that doesn't detract from Big Boss in any way. So
No,
Yeah.
I like that legacy part. I think, like I said, like the legacy of him, like
That's what ties it all
it's
together.
just- yeah, he is the thing that ties each one of these games together. Like, absolutely.
Yeah.
let's put it to a vote then. I think we're good, right? We're
Biggest the bosses.
okay.
I'm
I want to go
voting
last.
Ahsoka.
I want to go last, actually.
Oh, Eric's going
I'm
last.
voting to go last.
I mean, for me, Ahsoka's like she's cool. It seems like Star Wars has had characters in her like mold of at least another time. She looks cool. I like. She's a Twi'lek? Is that what those are?
Yeah, Twi'lek.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're cool.
Not a Monticello.
But Big Boss gets a cool horn at some point too,
Sure.
So she can't even.
She's
She
got
can't
the
even-
dual sabers, man.
It's got robot on
Pretty cool.
him.
Yeah, but Big Boss gets like a robot to ride in, and it's really fun. It just zips across the desert. It's awesome. It's like a Dragon Ball vehicle. It's really cool.
The best part of everything is the only like Metal Gear game Kayla's ever seen is 5, which is just a complete like deconstruction of the entire like mythos and stuff.
Oh my
So,
god.
yeah.
Love
That's-
to like you guys have already said, it gets weird. I'd love to listen and follow along when you guys explain things, but it's a mess. So I
It
gotta
is.
see it. I'm a visual
100%.
person. I
It's
gotta
a mess.
see it.
It's a mess.
Try to go online and see if you can like find like one of those Metal Gear series like explained videos. They're
Oh
usually,
yeah,
like,
there's
over-
10-hour
over-
YouTube videos.
Yeah, usually they're like several hours long, but
Give me a nice animated series, and I'll be down for that.
Yeah,
That
it's
sounds
like-
great.
like I work a lot by myself, so I just put shit on in the background.
Listen up, Netflix. Metal Gear animated show, please, right now.
Hey,
All right, Mike, what do you got?
I gotta go Big Boss.
Yeah. All right, one Ahsoka, 2 big bosses. What do you got, Aaron?
Oh, Ahsoka.
Okay, I was
Whoa,
hoping it would
Aaron.
come down to this, otherwise it'd be kind of anticlimactic.
Serve your country.
You know, as everything was going, I was putting a lot of thought into it, and I really like Ahsoka. She's one of my favorite characters in Star Wars, but she's not my favorite. And I already said Big Boss is not my favorite Metal Gear character either.
Ooh.
But
Somebody else is.
It's not a lot of
can't-
time.
you can't make the argument that Ahsoka is at least up until this point, and I don't know that they're going to pull on this thread, but Ahsoka is not the most important character in Star Wars. We have decades of Star Wars lore and everything, all the Skywalkers, everything else, and she's just a part.
We're tired of Skywalkers.
We are. She's a cool part of that universe. She's a standout part of that universe, but Big Boss is Metal
The
Gear.
universe.
Like he is that universe. And I think that tips to the scales for me. I'm gonna go Big Boss.
You did the
Wow.
right thing.
Because like you guys have said it, you wouldn't have Metal Gear, you wouldn't have Snake, Liquid, everything else. You wouldn't have them without Big Boss. So that tips the
You
scales
could
for me.
you could sleep on my couch tonight, buddy.
Uh,
It'll be a 3-dog night for you tonight. But you made a good
No.
No, I love Ahsoka. You know, she made it this far on her merits, but I think
That's
Big
true.
Boss needs to go to the next round.
I will say this about her character, like, we all mentioned that we're all kind of tired of the Skywalker shit. I really do hope that they run with the ball that they have with her. Star Wars was so worn out for such a long time. So
I did not expect Ahsoka to pass this
No.
battle here.
yeah,
Tough
But-
one. So
There's
Big
a lot
Boss
to-
moves on to round 4, and he will face Leslie Knope. That's going to be a fun one, guys.
yeah. Oh boy.
Man,
Let's get-
imagine Leslie and the boss get up in that like cellophane astronaut suit that she wears or whatever.
Big fan.
Just imagine Leslie and Big Boss fighting in a flower field.
Yeah, I want Leslie to play the boss in the Metal
That's a-
Gear Solid 3
Yeah,
movie.
It's a nuclear rage
Animated
coming through.
series.
Yes. Coming to Netflix. We called it. Next matchup. Marvel versus DC. We've got
Whoa.
Tony Stark from the MCU versus the Joker. If anyone knows what he's from, I don't know. I'm not familiar.
Yeah. He's
Okay.
from, the 1989 Batman, right?
No, we're going with the what was the I don't even know. Whatever. Who cares? There's been so many Jokers.
One with the bat nipples.
I wish there was a Joker nipple. Jared Leto had Joker nipples, right?
Yes, he did.
Right. Tony Stark.
They were
we
tattooed
had
on.
the last time we discussed Tony Stark, it was like an hour-long just love fest.
Love letter.
for
yeah.
Tony Stark. I think we've said a lot about the character, a lot about what we love about Tony Stark. I don't know if the Joker's gotten as much due, and he's gonna probably need. I think it's an uphill battle, maybe here. It's another one of those. We have 10 years of Tony. We had 2 hours of the Joker because we're going
1 to
off of
2
the
hours.
1 to 2 hours. Right.
I would even if you want to lump in all the Jokers. I don't know. Is
Well, I
that
think
enough?
that detracts almost if you lump in
Really?
all the Jokers, like because Jared Leto's Joker's fucking terrible. Like,
And even Jack
the-
Nicholson, where it's classic, isn't that good.
yeah, it's fine. Yeah. To me, this is like it's this Joker and the Mark Hamill animated Joker, and
Yeah.
kind of like the rest can just not
Oh man,
exist.
More love for Joaquin. Joaquin won an Oscar for this role as well.
I didn't like
That-
that movie.
True.
so-
That movie was fine, but I
was
think when I
okay.
saw that movie, I made the argument that like it didn't need to be a joke. Like I would have watched the Joaquin Phoenix has a
Yeah.
mental disorder
Yes.
movie and enjoyed it the same. It didn't need to be, a Joker movie, but that it is what it is. I enjoyed that movie and I enjoyed, his rendition of the Joker, but I don't think it beats Heath Ledger's for
Like
my,
Good portion of that movie is like not even like, that just coincidentally he's a clown, by trade.
right.
Just the idea is like you're dealing with, a man who's dealing with, mental disorders, and it could have just been a Joaquin Phoenix movie with a different backdrop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys think if we would have had more Ledger Joker, that it would have made would it have detracted more or added overall? What do you guys?
That's so
Or does
hard
that
to say.
a one and done thing just add so much?
I think it would have detracted a lot. Like I think he just he hit it. He did it once, and he hit it so perfectly on the head that it'd be hard for them to write another story he'd thrive in. And at
Given
some point,
DC's
just
track
being-
record too. What their
See,
movies.
I don't know. I might disagree on that. I would have liked to at least been given the opportunity. I don't know that was what they were going to do anyway.
I think Nolan wanted to bring him back. Like he said, Dark Knight Rises or whatever has a Joker size hole in the script. Like he wanted to bring Joker back in there. So
And maybe that improves that movie, because that one just fell off in my opinion, from Dark Knight.
The
And
bar was set high.
yeah, I
Really
like
high.
Dark Knight Rises more than maybe most people, but I don't like it more than Dark Knight.
No.
And I don't like Bane or Talia al Ghul or anyone else more
A
than
lot of good
you
memes
know.
out of him.
It was cool. I mean, I think he gets made fun of, and yeah, like you said, he is a meme now. But
I think Bane's really good.
I thought
I liked it too.
I treated more Bane as like an animated series bad guy, and I enjoyed his character because of it. You know.
I think
But,
it kind of stinks to your point of like going forward with Joker and everything else. It kind of stinks that the end of that movie, he fails. He's trying to convince Batman that people are like bad, inherently bad. Right, exactly. And he fails. Like the people don't sink the ship. They have like the C4 on the ferry, and they could have blown up the other ferry or whatever, and they don't. And then that foils Joker's plot. So he goes out kind of with a whimper. He has a fun little, oh, hey, we're inevitable. We're always going to be, against each other and everything.
Selfish.
That's like yeah, I would have loved to have seen the aftermath of that. We get the aftermath of Two-Face in him, and I don't think that hits for me.
No.
I would have loved to see like Joker, specifically that Joker, Heath Ledger, dealing with like, hey man, I was wrong, because he's just like hyper confident. He is like completely confident in the fact that like it's all chaos, people are inherently bad and everything else, and he's kind of proven wrong. And I'd love to have seen him gripping with that, and then Batman be a part of that. But we didn't get to see that.
You could also make the argument though that like that situation that those people were in, if you do like a thought experiment on that, like how often do you think people would lean to like not protect their own ass, especially if you had children like on a ferry? It's like that scene in itself can just be a case study of, like, the human psyche. But a 2-hour performance, and boy, it was a hell of a performance. Like,
yeah, it changed villains for all movies.
I've said it, on a previous podcast. Like, I saw that movie in theaters 6 times because, like, even though I already, saw it and enjoyed it, for what it was, I wanted to see other people's reactions as I went to go see it too, because I just enjoyed the experience so much. But like it's a shame that it's a one and done. I don't know if they made more movies, if it would have gone off the rails, given DC's track record with movies and stuff like that. It probably would have. I don't think it would have immediately. But then again, that was the Nolan trilogy, and they've since gone on to like, other directors, and it's, it's like we'll never know the answer to that. But for 2 hours, man, Heath Ledger shined brighter than the sun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
there's no lie there.
does a lot of great stuff in that. I love when he's just like in that nurse's outfit, like waddling out, and he's trying to get the bomb to work, and just slight
Apparently
comedic stuff.
That was improvised.
Yeah, where Tony's he does just a perfect job of selling his one-liners and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Class up the ass, charmer. Like it was like Eric already said, we gave our love letter to Tony Stark. You got over 10 years of performances. It's like, I get it. Heath Ledger's Joker was historical, but I just don't think it can stand up to, what the Marvel Cinematic Universe did with Tony Stark.
What's sticking in my mind though right now in regards to that, it kind of speaks to what Aaron mentioned about like not wanting to see any more of Joker. The 2 hours that he was on screen, in my recollection of him, I don't think there's a single like scene or moment or dialogue piece where I didn't think he like stole the show, and where I didn't enjoy it, where I was like, this is silly, this isn't to his character, this isn't enjoyable, whatever the case may be. I can pick out, and it's maybe not Tony's fault just because he's been doing it for 10 years, but I can pick out like whole like sequences of like whole halves of movies. Like an example would be like the middle portion of, I think it's Iron Man 3, where he's with the little boy in the town and everything else, and he's kind of like having all those panic attacks and stuff. I like that sequence. I don't like Tony's version of like panic attacks and his like paranoia and stuff. I don't really dig, like, if we want to say like Robert Downey Jr.'s like acting in those scenes. And that's just one example. He has like several panic attacks and anxiety moments and stuff. Like the whole Ultron thing is about his anxiety about space and everything. I'm not as big a fan. Any of those moments in those various movies take me out of it a little. They're incredibly important to his like psyche and his decision making and stuff.
Yeah.
And I just don't like the acting in those scenes. Whereas once again, like I can't pick out a moment in the Joker and Heath Ledger where I'm like, that wasn't great. I didn't like how he laughed there, or how he talked to Batman, or talked to Rachel or something.
Maybe it was
whatever.
in 10 more movies, you'd find those things.
Right.
Yeah,
So it's maybe
but
unfair.
that's the counter argument.
That's tough because
We'll never
Downey
know.
does pull up when he's recording that message, he thinks he's going to die in space, and he's just recording his last, or just his death scene. He doesn't say anything, and he's just kind of just sitting there, and he's acting with his eyes, and like I think that character, like it's just a build up to that from Iron Man 1 to Endgame, and I don't know. I think like, okay, Iron Man comes out, everyone, it's like, oh wow, they pulled this off. This is pretty good.
Yeah.
Let's say Robert Downey falls off the wagon or something hard with all the success, and he dies. That derails this whole thing. I don't know if they continue.
No Tom Cruise in there
with this whole thing. I don't know if they can't replace him.
Yeah, you can make this type of same argument that we do for Heath Ledger, but he's no longer with us.
I could see, I don't know, I could see like Captain America anchoring that. Maybe it's not as good. Maybe
Anthony
the MCU.
Mackie?
Sorry, Chris Evans, Captain America. Like if we're doing the hypothetical of no. What I'm saying, Mike's example of Robert Downey Jr. passing away after Iron Man 1, and them having to pivot on like who's playing that character who like pushes the story forward. I think there's other options. I think like Chris Evans, Captain America could maybe have done it. Like we'd never know. It's hard to say, but like I think he's as charismatic, and they give him a lot of screen time and stuff, and the whole, you could even see like him and Spider-Man having that same relationship because they're both New York guys and stuff. Maybe whatever. I don't know.
What made Cap good was his back and forths with Tony.
Oh, yep, 100%, 100%. And maybe you lose that. Yeah, who does he go back and forth?
Even in the comics, they lean heavy on that. Like I can see building a series off of him being the focal point, but I'd still think you'd need your Tony Stark Iron Man there, because Cap is a rallying point in Marvel. Like when all the chips are down and shit hits the fan, a lot of people turn to Captain America, even though he doesn't have any superpowers. He's just a strong,
he's enhanced.
He's a super soldier, but fighting alongside Thor and gods and shit like that. He's
which Iron Man is just a man.
Tony's brave, man. That's a superpower.
But like they both represent something. It's like, and Cap's always been like that rallying point in Marvel. It's like he's Captain America, and and that it speaks to our own hubris and the idea. It's like we're the greatest, but yeah, in the comics, he's always been like that kind of focal point, and I think they could have done that, but like instead of making Tony Stark, the main backdrop, but I don't think they could have made Cap as great a character without his back and forth with Tony Stark.
I don't think there's any way the MCU's as good without Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man.
Yes.
I don't think so.
Over 10 years, maybe a slip up on the performance here and there, but like, Mike made the point, like it all led up to that crescendo at the end, and Mike still explains, that snap, and like every time, when you talked about it this time, I still got goosebumps thinking back to that scene, and like to me that just speaks a lot to like the magic of what they did with that character.
For me, the goosebump moment, and maybe this detracts from Tony again a little bit. The goosebump moment for me with Tony was in Infinity War. So he's fighting one-on-one. Everyone else has been knocked out at this point. He's fighting one-on-one against Thanos, and he's getting his ass kicked, but he just keeps going. And Thanos breaks off a piece of, I think, his armor or whatever, and like stabs him in the chest. And my heart sinks. Like, I'm like, this is it. This is because the lead up to that and everything was, we're going to lose some Avengers, like people are going to die. Like that was all the rumors and stuff like that. And it was Infinity War was not going to end well. And I'm like, okay, this is it. And it's just beautiful. He sits down and Thanos has his little, I hope they remember you speech. And it's just great.
Yeah.
And then he stitches himself up with magic, whatever, nano machines or whatever. And that deflated it for me a little bit.
But that's Tony. That's his character, man. He always finds a way out. He's a genius.
Yeah. And
I think that's
for
more
me
than on the character.
Yeah. Well, I think just for me, if the character died right there and then that's more of, I don't know. It would have been more powerful and everything.
Tony has to live 5 years with his failure, and he comes to terms with it. And he's done. He's like, we failed, we fucked up, we lost half of the world, but I've got
everything,
my little world back, and then he has to give it up. It all works out so well. How
it's all part of it.
It ends with the original 6, I believe, 6 of them, right?
Thor,
we'll go with that.
Cap,
Iron
Man, Hulk,
Black Widow,
Hawkeye. Yeah, that's 6. Yeah.
You guys talk about the love letter in the episode I wasn't in before, and clearly this episode has mostly been a love letter to Tony Stark again. Yes. I don't like him that much. To me, honestly, so let's look at the Joker, where it's Heath Ledger completely becoming a role to the point where he's almost redefined the level of quality the role is. And to me, Robert Downey Jr. went in and he did the exact opposite. Iron Man, it became him. That character throughout those movies is kind of just Robert Downey Jr., who is charismatic and all of that, but it's him. That didn't read Tony Stark and Iron Man. And yeah, he sold it and it was really good, but I think there's something to be said for a character that he was somebody else was so immersed into that you almost even with the make-him stuff, you couldn't there are people who could be like, oh, I didn't even know that was Heath Ledger. That's the Joker. Whereas you watch Iron Man, it's not, oh, it's Tony Stark. That's just Robert Downey Jr. So I think maybe it's just one movie over 10 movies, but I think the character itself was so well executed. I get that version of Tony Stark tied everything else together, but I don't think his character on his own, I wasn't crazy about the Iron Man movies. I don't know. To me, it's always just seemed like it's just Robert Downey Jr. and it's not Iron Man.
Well, I mean, even the comics emulate that now.
It's like with people who read the Walking Dead comics, where it suddenly became more and more like the show, or more and more like the movies. Clearly, it's influenced because they cause comics to have a resurgence. They're gonna take advantage. It's like
absolutely
Nick Fury looking like Samuel L. Jackson. They had to grab what they could get to keep the industry alive. Yeah, I get that 100%. But going from reading I never really read dedicated Iron Man comics, but I read Avengers and I read other ones that it was a part of, cross series stuff. And reading that and then watching it, I wouldn't be like, oh, that's Iron Man 100%. It's not. It's not. It's Robert Downey Jr. wearing the iron suit. That's what it is.
still did a kick-ass job at it.
That's a that's a really good argument that I don't think anyone has made, but it's compelling. I think I kind of opens my mind a little bit to that. I don't know how much that detracts from it, just because like in my mind, really not knowing the character at all, the Iron Man character, it is Robert Downey Jr. for me, and I think for a lot of people. So I don't know if it detracts, but I get the sentiment regardless. Like Heath Ledger became the Joker, Iron Man became Robert Downey Jr. And
that's casting.
I get what you're saying too, Aaron, because like I would have loved to make that same argument for Magneto's character, because he has not had the greatest silver screen portrayal, but like I love the X-Men and I love Magneto in the X-Men. But you know, like we chose mediums in this, and you know, my heart's with the Robert Downey Jr. portrayal of.
My point isn't so much that it isn't down that it's not faithful to the comic books. It's like how much of it do you like the character, or do you like Robert Downey Jr.?
I like both, but I think I even made the argument that like it's like they chose Iron Man of all characters out of Marvel to start this whole entire like MCU thing.
Robert Downey Jr. is not great in anything else. Like he's not great.
Tropic Thunder. I'm kidding.
I like him in other things.
I like him in other things too.
This is now his signature role.
But he's not great. He's not great. Like Heath Ledger is great in other things. Heath Ledger is by far a better actor. But
some arguments to be made either way. But I do to that point. If you ever watch like Zodiac, it's just Zodiac. The character Robert Downey Jr. plays in Zodiac is just is Tony Stark, like his version of Tony Stark, like
because him playing Tony Stark is really him playing himself.
Right. So let's get it to a vote. Let's put it down. I'm really interested to see what people lean here.
I'm still Tony.
Tony.
I say the Joker.
I'm gonna go Joker.
Ooh, Mike.
For me, we've seen multiple Jokers since Heath Ledger. We're going to see more and more and more. There's actors and performers I think that are going to maybe not be as good of a Joker, but that character can just keep going on and on. Whereas I don't know. Like even if it is just Robert Downey Jr., well, I think that is just a perfect way of cementing that character. Is if it's just you, then it can't be anyone else. Like it was you. He put himself into that character like that, and man, I gotta go Tony.
All right, there we go. It's called for Tony. 3 votes to 2. Tony Stark defeats the Joker and goes into the next round to face one of the next 2 characters.
We'll do another bracket in 10 years and we'll see who comes out on top.
Yeah, we will. All right, so we've got our 4th matchup and final on the left side of the bracket. We've got Ben Wyatt from Parks and Recreation against Joel Miller from The Last of Us. 2 men, and that's about the only thing that they have in common, I think. I don't know if Joel is into stop motion animation. I haven't,
I'm sure he likes calzones.
He might.
Does the zombie apocalypse have calzones? That's a good question.
But he was alive before, so maybe.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's why
had
he's
the
so angry and disgruntled that calzones no longer exist. Well, he wasn't upset about his daughter. It's just a pizzeria down the street went out of business. And...
I
No
think Ben
judgment.
would have wiped out a hospital full of people to get to Leslie. I think. He would've done
You think Ben would do that?
yeah.
Yeah.
In a Batman costume.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think he'd maybe like charm them. I don't know about him with like an AK or something.
His love for
Change.
Leslie, man.
I did that mission almost completely stealth, so I didn't use any like
Real? Oh man,
AKs.
just
Oh no, I
cracking
was
skulls.
I had to get up there quick. That was
Yep.
my mentality. I
Oh,
was
I
not
did it quick. I killed them all. I just they didn't fight me outright. I did it sneaky.
Oh no. They're giving me all this fucking ammo and badass machine guns and shit. Yeah, I'm just gonna
Wasn't
Sirius
fighting
saying my way
clickers,
up this
bro.
motherfucker.
Those
yeah.
just fighting
Balls
humans.
to the wall.
Humans are easier than clickers. So
I think I remember dying a bunch, personally. I think I played it on like hard or whatever. And
yeah,
I remember that being difficult at least a couple
unforgiving.
times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, there
On
were a
hard.
couple of areas that were tough.
on hard mode, bullets actually hurt.
Yeah.
Like bullets.
I come through
So,
the space.
man, what Ben has taken down to get here, Monkey D. Luffy and Phil Dunphy. So two comedic legends, you know.
We did Luffy wrong, man.
Oh, no.
I'm not saying he should have won,
Regards.
but I don't know.
Oh man.
Big up to Luffy.
Well,
Hey,
so
none of these characters are bad. None of these characters are bad. Let's just
I disagree.
well,
A lot of these characters
Yeah,
are bad.
all of them suck except for Lou Bloom, who's gonna be the sneak away, take everything.
I think Monkey D. Luffy sucks, but you know
Oh,
that's from the
Hey.
6 episodes I've seen.
I think he's a dime a dozen shonen character.
938 I've seen. Say it different.
Yeah, I mean,
If it takes that long for a character to be good, the character's not good.
It doesn't take that long, but anyway, we're getting off the rails here.
no, I want to know about Monkey D. Luffy. No,
Wyatt is just so strong.
the only thing you need to know is he's made of rubber. How did that
I think
happen?
we're just trying to avoid this fight here.
Ben White.
Ben Wyatt would try to avoid this fight as well. Joel, I don't know if he would avoid this fight.
I listened to some REM to prepare myself for this.
Is it Everybody Hurts or?
No. The song that he played when he was making his claymation was Stan.
Oh, right. You listen to 5 seconds of Stand.
It's like, stand in the place where you...
Oh. So, I mean, I've said it already a million times. Joel is possibly my favorite video game character of all time.
You've heard it, Eric.
Yeah, so like it's hard for anyone to beat him, and I like Ben Wyatt, but like I like Leslie better, and I probably like Ron better. I mean, it's a toss up, you know, in terms of Parks and Rec, as far as characters, but man, Mike is I think Frozen, and it's the best.
Right.
Yes. Oh my god. It is gorgeous.
I thought he was totally listening this whole time.
Right?
I think,
He's really intent.
Somebody screenshot that.
He's so Mike is so happy. I love it. I love it. Oh,
Is
man.
Mike with us?
I think
Nice. I
he's
think he might be dead.
he's deep in it, man. He's deep in it.
He's really thinking about his defense for Ben Wyatt.
He didn't want to hear how much I love Joel anymore. He's like, I've heard this for the last like 8 years. I don't need to hear it anymore, man. Oh man.
So I had to restart my phone. Sorry.
Oh shit.
Okay. Yeah. You froze in an excellent position.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, it was so good. You
It
were
was
like,
productive.
Lean back.
yeah, you did.
were
Really
listening.
it was so
So
good.
interested in what
I
Eric
took a
was
picture
saying.
of it. So
I did too.
later.
It's really good. It's really good.
Okay.
It's going to
Awesome.
Discord now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yours might be better, Tomas, so please share yours too.
Well, I just took a picture of it on my phone. I didn't
Same.
screen cap it or anything.
Mine's pretty
so-
glary. Eric, as you were saying, you were talking about your love for Joel.
Again.
Again. Yeah, I mean,
Again.
I don't need to harp on it. I think he's just. I think Mike had used the term like fully realized at some point in one of these discussions, and I think especially because of the second game, you get to see him grasping with his decision. I mean, there's the big decision at the end of the first game, and you do get to see the aftermath of that, which is what I wanted. I desperately, when that first game ended, I remember like making up scenarios in my head of like, man, what's the sequel gonna look like? And I know a lot of people thought that first game was perfect and that it didn't need to have a sequel, or at least was very good and didn't need a sequel. And, you know, say what you want about how the sequel went down and how it framed Ellie and everything else. I think it only cemented, for me, Joel. You know, it added to his character that much more. And then obviously his tragic end as well, I think was all, you know, one of the most gut-wrenching parts in a video game for me of all time.
The parts with Joel in the second one are by far the best parts of the game. They're very good.
Oh yeah, I like the.
You probably don't even really play. You're not actually playing a game in much of Joel's parts, though.
The flashbacks and
Yeah, they're just visuals.
The museum scene, though, you're with them there, and it's
There's not a lot. It's all
the best part of that game.
the
is that museum
spaceship
section, I think.
museum.
Yeah, the museum is the best part of both games. Quite honestly, I love that part.
Yeah.
You might be. You might not be wrong.
Yeah, I might have to agree with you as well. I think it hits more than the giraffe scene that everyone kind of. I love the giraffe scene in the first one, but like, I think they outdid themselves with the museum in my mind.
Right.
But Ben Wyatt, you know,
Yeah.
I feel like we should give him some due, right?
Oh, absolutely.
He's the everyman. He is me.
He
is you.
is. He doesn't
He
have
is.
a lot of demons that he's dealing with, where Joel
Ice Town.
does.
He had.
Yeah,
he's got a side.
Okay.
He's not just bubblegum. He's.
I want to say Joel Miller may be able to kill probably a town's worth of people with just a handful of bricks and a few bullets. Well, Ben Wyatt can kill a whole entire town's economy
Yeah.
with one bad idea. So-
Right.
He's the ice clown.
Let us not forget that Joel potentially doomed all of humanity. So,
I think it's debatable. I don't think they were ever going to save everybody anyway.
Yeah,
so.
I don't think that's vaccines don't work the same with fungi as they do for viruses.
It's also quite like at what level you're okay with just sacrificing people, especially children, and then the people themselves, like it shows throughout the whole time. There's tons of infighting, and they're pretty ineffective. Like, what are the chances they were going to save the world anyway, or they were just going to save the Fireflies?
That's a good point.
Or if they were gonna find anything. I mean, this is
Right,
like they're just gonna cut her open and see
Yeah.
what happens. They
Just-
don't. They
just
got
gonna dig
nothing
through
they're
your
going
brain.
off of.
They just guessed that it would help, and they were willing to sacrifice her to try. But
Yeah, and so run a few tests before you start cutting brain stems, in my opinion. But,
Right. There's
you
a
know.
couple things you can do. Pee in a cup,
Yeah, it's-
well, you didn't see that. She peed in so many cups. It was insane.
Well,
Did.
there's also the fact that, like, if they were truly the good guys, like, Joel gets there, he gets the girl there against all these odds,
that's
and they immediately start treating him like shit and threaten to kill him.
Yeah.
Before he even does anything, like, try to protect her or anything, they're immediately like, if you move, we're going to kill you. Like, okay, yeah, these are definitely the guys that are trying to save everybody.
Yeah, would Ben Wyatt join the Fireflies? I mean, that's the real question.
Ben Wyatt
jo-
would be on the good guys wherever
You
they
would
were.
join whatever side Leslie was on.
I don't think Ben Wyatt would have ever left the town. I don't think he's agreeing to smuggle anyone anywhere.
Yeah, but Leslie probably would have, and Ben would go, to the ends of the earth for Leslie. I think.
Leslie would have became president of the New World. So
See,
What was the Fireflies
not
leader
Ben,
name?
Leslie.
that's how much I care. I don't remember.
Well, I think that's Leslie, in that universe. I think Leslie becomes the leader of the Fireflies through just sheer force of will. And who's her right-hand man? Ben Wyatt.
Yes,
So.
but not the leader. Not the. That's Leslie's. That's Leslie's.
No, he's the doctor that you just mercilessly stab in the throat with the scalpel, I think.
Oh man,
Joel ain't leading nothing either, though.
Joel's like co-leader of that town. Like I
That's-
feel like him and Tommy kind of.
The
Is he the
point
like-
to make Ben not being the leader is that Leslie is better.
Yeah, but who's the advisor to Leslie?
Leslie kind of just does whatever she wants. I don't think she really takes advice too often.
In our Leslie leading the Fireflies world.
She's a dictator in this world.
Great. Now we created a new dystopian future. So.
Any future where Leslie's leading, is a future I want to be part of.
I just identify so much with both of these guys in different ways.
Yeah. Not like you go around hitting people with bricks.
No, not that one. Sometimes I think about that, but
Yeah, absolutely. What would Joel do?
Like Joel yeah. Joel's the everyman, and I think if we reevaluated what an everyman is, Ben Wyatt would probably be like the atypical everyman of now,
Nowadays,
of our generation kind of thing.
They're kind of a man of their own situations.
Yeah,
but just the the everyman might not be the tough guy now. He's just like the office worker, whatever.
Society's strange.
Smart,
into Game of
successful,
Thrones,
caring, sensitive,
like, that
creative.
kind of, yeah.
Joel is a cowboy. Joel is like
Right.
John Wayne in True Grit
Yeah.
or something. I mean, like that's what he is.
Isn't he like a contractor before the apocalypse too? So
Yeah,
he's
he
already doing,
mentions.
he does like roughneck work to begin.
Well, I think
with.
he's supposed to be like an average person of like the South. They went for like the most average thing they could find.
He's a Texan. He's gritty. He's
He's got calluses.
yeah, single dad, so he's already
Doesn't want to teach his children about Martin Luther King.
Oh no!
No, that's
Privilege
it.
is
Ben Wyatt all the way.
Oh no!
I think we got to call it for Ben now. I think that's the KO for Joel.
We're canceling Joel. Let's go.
I think okay. Here we go. So as not to cancel Joel, he is confronted with 2 gay characters and is completely accepting of those characters. So I think Joel is a modern man.
That's a good point.
That's a good point. But
He is a
he's
progressive
against,
gentleman.
Good reversal
he's
there.
against taking down Civil War statues because you got to remember your past.
That'd be a fun game, like a post-apocalypse where you just fucking get to fuck up any of the stupid shit.
Oh man, that would be fun.
Just tear down the sins of man.
Let's get Devolver Digital on the line. I think that's a Devolver Digital game
go.
right there.
Annapurna.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Oh boy. So we've put Ben Wyatt in the Last of Us universe. Where would Joel would just be Ron Swanson, right?
Yeah,
in Parks and
It
Rec.
would probably be that.
He might
Who's
still
already
just be
lost in this
Sure.
bracket, so boom, de facto he loses. Moving on.
Ooh. Ooh.
Hitting you with some logic bombs.
Ah. I'd like to see Joel and Ben across the country.
Right?
I think
would
Ben
too.
Together.
fills that bright-eyed Ellie role pretty well. And then
It's almost like I feel like it'd be like Midnight Run. If you guys have ever seen Midnight Run,
yeah.
like yeah,
yeah.
I feel like it's
Yeah.
that dynamic. Like
Just
man,
imagine
give me that. Wow.
I just imagine the episode with Ben drinking the blueberry wine.
The Last of Us 2 or 3, I mean. That's the game. just Ben Wyatt crossing the country with Joel.
Ooh,
I'm
pay
into
money
it.
for that.
Excellent.
Do we want to do any sort of like strength of schedule kind of situation? Joel took down Willow and Anton Chigurh to get here.
Anton was a tough one. Willow, maybe not so much for me personally.
Yeah, first round, kind of maybe an easier first round than maybe the Monkey D. Luffy. You know, Ben had to take down a character who has like 700 episodes behind them, right? Like
more,
whatever. Yeah,
1,000. So
Jesus, yeah. So
yeah, that's a long going thing. Chigurh took down Spike Spoogle.
Right.
I'd imagine that's a little bit tougher than Willow.
Yeah.
Especially with a live action series on the way too.
Yeah.
The story of The Last of Us, which is mainly with the Joel, is just so incredible. It's just breathtaking. It's immersive. It's believable. It's just crazy. Where Ben is great. Ben is a true joy to watch.
Absolutely.
I just think the monumental story that Joel was a part of just cements it.
I think at the time of that first game, Joel was cemented for me as like, wow, that's like Brando and Godfather or something like that, you know, Daniel Day-Lewis type like character. I think he's since been surpassed, like that. You know,
character surpassed by Ben.
Has changed hands, not by Ben, by a different video game character. Who's still on this bracket?
Oh wow!
Good luck figuring it out. It's impossible.
Okay, sure.
Sure. I mean, it's been the archetype that like people have been building on. You know, it's like you have we already lost Nathan Drake on this bracket, and some would argue that Uncharted 4, it's a hell of a game.
Well, I think
pretty to look at. It's not so much the story.
Is Naughty Dog's best character. If this was Joel versus Drake, I that's much easier for me personally.
Okay. Just want to make a point because they're kind of like two outstanding characters by the same studio.
Yeah, and it is one of those like
and it depends on what you enjoy more too. You like action, Indiana Jones-esque kind of,
Yeah, completely different ends of the spectrum.
Completely different ends of the spectrum. They give something to, either side.
Character stories.
There is no character from The Last of Us that is even kind of in Uncharted and vice versa. There's no...
Yeah, exactly.
There's really no Venn diagram with those.
The funniest part is it's the same universe too. Like they do exist in the same universe.
Right.
Like, yeah, the characters are just as different as can be.
A sense of humor and charm dies with
absolutely
civilization.
Yeah,
I think Joel's got some charm.
Sure, there's little cracks.
Yeah,
he's charming in the rugged way, like he's just a rugged like badass, So there's that.
And Drake would never have fallen on that rebar.
No.
Oh,
you would have done like 3 backflips.
Right.
Found a rope to ledge.
No. Got out of it. Yeah.
There's plot armor,
Exactly.
It's called luck. We've already established that.
Very low luck on Joel. Went hard in strength and dexterity.
Yeah.
Could have used a little luck.
Yeah. All right. Do we want to take it to a vote?
I guess.
Yeah, we have to. We got to move on. It's as much as I've enjoyed this.
Let's talk about some other thing that's kind of related to loosely related.
Oh man.
I'll go first. You set the tone here.
I already know who I'm voting for, so.
Joel Miller.
I'm going back.
Sorry, Ben.
I picked them. It's like,
I didn't
like-
pick Joel.
No. I picked Ben. I put him on the
Oh,
bracket.
gotcha.
Of course, I gotta go for my guy.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
I'm Joel.
Jesus, Joel, that's me.
Make me proud, Aaron. Not that it matters.
I'm honestly almost like it's like a 50-50 split for me. But if I had to pick what character is ultimately better, it's Joel.
Okay.
Poor Ben.
I can't be mad at you, Aaron.
Poor Ben.
Poor Ben.
The sequel just elevated Joel for me and lessened Ellie, which kind of helped Joel even more, I guess,
Yeah.
Put him over the
in a
top.
weird way.
And since Ellie's gone, we got to keep pushing our boy. So
I'm a really vindictive person, so I really like Ellie in the second one.
Yeah, I loved Ellie even in the second one, but still, I think you're right. Like it elevated Joel more than it
Right.
elevated Ellie.
Joel's in a quarter of the game, and he's still the biggest part of the game for me.
Yeah.
So he's still like my favorite part.
I was just disappointed. Felt like a parent. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
I hope my children never choose to be the bigger person and just get as petty as possible.
All right, this is being recorded, Aaron, just so you know.
Your children will thrive.
Oh, okay.
Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Bye bye, Ben.
I'll get
Joel
Lucy a
moving
switchblade for Christmas. Teach her young.
Getting your children bricks for
She was upset because another kid in her class said that she says sorry too much.
Aw.
Oh,
damn.
Not a good habit to be in.
Her teacher said it's because she's a nice person.
Yeah.
I
exactly.
totally punched the kid in the eye, but
idea is to get to a point where you don't have to say sorry anymore. So
Is your
whether
daughter
through
Canadian?
bricks,
she's a little Canadian.
Okay. There you go.
Sometimes we learn how to not say sorry through smashing people's heads in with bricks. So
Go Joel. You did
So
it.
we have our, I think it's the quarterfinals, right? On one side of the bracket, we have Leslie Knope versus Big Boss, and now we have Tony Stark versus Joel Miller. That is
Oof.
going to
I
be
don't like that.
something.
That's gonna be a fun one for you guys.
Let's get on to the right side of the bracket. We have Lou Bloom versus Tyrion Lannister. So Lou Bloom from Nightcrawler, if anyone hasn't been paying attention up until now,
We calling it?
versus Tyrion Lannister, the best part of Game of Thrones.
Season 8
Game of
official.
Groans. Groaning.
Game of Groans.
I approve.
Yeah, those last two seasons are kind of rough.
I
All
like
right.
it, to be
Sometimes I just
honest.
forget about them. You know.
Like the only payoff at the end
Lou
of
would have been able to beat Tyrion.
Oh, you're talking
Lou
about
could have been a few characters on fucking Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, he would have fit right into that universe.
I think Lou is Littlefinger, and he gets found out and gets brutally murdered. So
Yeah, he does get
He's
his.
gross.
He didn't protect his neck, bro. It's
right.
first rule.
He
I
wouldn't have
think
done
he-
any of the punk bitch stuff that Tyrion does. You know.
I feel you.
The
We
worst
can respectfully disagree, on that.
Tyrion settles to just try to be someone's second fiddle, third fiddle, like
He does.
towards the top. He wants upper management. He ain't trying to be CEO or whatever is the most important person in a business or something.
in a way,
Lou-
he knows that's the person who has a lot of power.
Lou has his own media corporation now. He is like
I mean, I think you're right that Lou would settle for nothing less than the crown, but if you think of the characters who wanted to settle for nothing less than the crown, if we're doing Game of Thrones here, Daenerys, dead. Littlefinger, dead.
Dead.
The
Crown kills, bro.
Tywin, dead. Like every character who had that like ultimate ambition, the way that Lou Bloom does, the like do anything to just get on top and not settle for like their place in the world.
Yeah, but none of those people in Game of Thrones are enjoyable. Like,
True.
they're all petty. Everything's so pride driven. Daenerys
Oh, I
is
agree.
like, I was like, I am entitled to this, and it's like you just want to smash people's heads against the fucking like wall because it's just.
Oh, I agree. I
The
agree.
movie portrays the world the same way. You know, the good guy in Nightcrawler dies at the his sidekick guy. Like Oberyn dies.
Oh no!
Spoiler.
That was like
All
5
right.
seasons ago, bro.
Man,
Oh man, and look at our
Shout
boy
out
now.
to Bill Miller again.
He's gonna become Joel, so he's evolved.
Oh,
man,
Incarnation.
give me more Lou Bloom.
yeah.
I guess I need to watch this movie. I haven't seen this movie. You guys talk about it, and it sounds hard. Like he's a
That's-
character that it's hard to watch.
He just gets under your skin.
Oh, I
He's,
don't like that.
I love it.
So I'm pretty sure we watched this movie.
Oh, it's
I
forgettable then.
right. I think it's damning, but
Oh.
no, I don't think it's a forgettable movie. I think everything that they're saying, like
I might
this
have
is Jake Gyllenhaal's best role. I don't think you fell asleep. It's just been a while. Like we saw this movie when it came to like Netflix for the first time. I think like whenever that was in 2014 or something. Like
Wait a
whatever.
minute.
Still at Delaware.
Yeah. So it was a while ago, and that's the only time that I've also ever seen it. And it's hard to argue against Lou Bloom. I mean, I loved Tyrion, and I want to
He
fight for my
falls off.
guy, but
He
that
falls off so hard.
yeah, the show falls
Does, and
off. He
that's-
falls off. It's a big part of why the show fell off was like they stopped
Caring.
letting Tyrion, I don't know, be on top or wiggle his way out of things. It was just like he became kind of almost a punchline at points, in those
Because
series.
By the end, like nobody's listening to anything. It's just everybody's got their own agendas. What's the point of him being, the hand of the queen if, anything he says just fucking goes out one ear and, through the other. So
Yeah.
like the more I like, I'm telling, like I'm watching the show with Jackie, and season 7 was a slog. It took us like I think 2.5 weeks to get through it, and like we just started season 8. It's just hard to watch now. It's like, and I thank God season 8's only like 6 episodes.
There is
Yeah.
an exceptional episode in that season, at least. But then it's an
and
early
then it
episode.
fucking- yeah,
Yeah.
and it tapers off. Like it's like that's it. It's like goes out with a whimper, not a bang. And I'm trying not to discourage her. She wants to finish it, but it's like
I feel like shows sometimes just go on past their point. Like I can name a
More
couple of
material.
shows that I just haven't watched to the end. I haven't finished Shameless. It ended on whatever season I ended it on. I felt real good about it. I don't need to see anymore. True Blood, it ended before the last season. I didn't watch it. They need to end sometimes. They have just a perfect time to just kind of let it go, let it be, and then they just make it
Thrones
worse.
couldn't do that. They didn't
Thrones
get. They didn't.
shoulda
They
ended.
needed an extra season. Thrones needed
Yeah.
more.
They
Yeah.
did. They either needed to stop where they were instead of giving us what they gave us, or give us what they should have given us. I'm gonna vote for Lou because even though I love Tyrion and he's my favorite part about Game of Thrones, it gets real bad. He is the worst part about the last 2 seasons. And it's just a shame. He was such a strong like character to like this whimpery, whiny little baby.
yeah.
They just failed real hard with the end of it.
For me, Tyrion's peak, I think it's the end of like season 4 after he kills his father.
Yeah.
And he just gets into a crate. And you don't know what's in store for Tyrion after that. For me, that is the end of the show.
That is a very
And
I know exactly what you're talking. He takes down.
Unfortunately, there's like 4 or 3 whatever seasons after that, and I've seen it. And Tyrion just kind of it completely flips that character for me, where he's never really he's relegated to the sidelines after that.
Absolutely. He's B team.
He's out of the hunt for the crown, after that. And it just diminishes the character in strong ways for me. Right. Like I have to go Lou. Lou is just he is Littlefinger and Tyrion. I don't know. He's like whatever, and Varys or whatever. Like he is one of those characters, and I think he's the best of those group of characters.
He's like the one true king, father of dragons, king of the Andals,
or Onion Knight.
Davos should have been the fucking king.
Man, I love Davos. Davos is great.
Okay.
That was like the only character who's talking sense by season 8.
All right, so let's call it for Lou Bloom over Tyrion Lannister. Lou Bloom makes it to the Elite Eight. The Elite Eight. Next matchup, interesting one here. We have Ingrid Thorburn versus Sirius Black. So Ingrid from Ingrid Goes West versus Sirius Black from Harry Potter. I mean, I've said my piece on Sirius Black. I think he's like the coolest character from Harry Potter in a cast of, wild and interesting characters. A series that I could take or leave, but a cool performance. And from the time he is like introduced as like you're afraid of him and everything to when he eventually dies tragically, I think he kind of steals just about every scene he's in, and he's not in a ton of it in the grand scheme of like 8 movies, but I think he's just one of those standout, like, man, he kind of steals the scene from these other 30 characters that are on screen at any given time.
Oldman has an Oscar, right?
For the he just recently won one for
Tower or whatever.
Darkest Hour. Yeah, I think
Oscar-winning actor right there. No matter what, even if he didn't have an Oscar, he's one of the greatest.
Scary Oldman.
Yeah, yeah.
We could do a Gary Oldman bracket. That's how many great characters.
That sounds fun.
That's absolutely.
He's like the best character actor of all time.
Yeah, he's
must
fun.
have thought it was White Boy Day.
Yeah, right. He so many movies where he's in it for an hour or 10 minutes. He's excellent, of course. Ingrid, like as much as I love Ingrid, she's as far as like those cringy under your skin type characters, I don't think she's as strong as Lou. Or like a Shigur even, or some character like that. There's been episodes of Black Mirror where this character kind of, exists in a way. There's been this. It's just a modern retelling of single white female or something like that, which is cool. I'm glad. I like that movie, and I like this movie a lot too.
Single female lawyer.
But I don't know. I think this is where Ingrid kind of stops. I think I might not be the only one who's been kind of Team Ingrid, but I think the argument for Sirius is strong, and I love Gary Oldman, so I'm willing to concede that if we want to quickly vote.
I just got done watching Dark Knight with my girlfriend the other day. Yes. Well, because we did the Joker thing,
Joker's gone.
Oh, I know.
I'm talking about him. He's dead.
Damn, Aaron, that's dark.
Right?
But,
Tony Stark also dead, but still alive
in our hearts.
Oh boy.
Repulsive blast.
boy.
Smart bombs.
Do we need to say more? Should we take it to a vote?
I'm calling it.
Yeah, I
Why
think
so
serious.
serious?
I think
Serious?
serious. Yeah,
Why
that's a fun one.
so serious?
So Sirius Black moves on to the Elite Eight to take on Lou Bloom.
Oh no.
That's a fun one. That's a fun one.
Oh no. Here's
We're
the
gonna
one that
rewatch
I'm dreading.
Easy for
Nightcrawler,
me.
Kayla, and
All right.
we'll see that. Yeah, just
Can
to
we
give.
get a Batman movie where every character is played by Gary Oldman? That'd be pretty good.
But you don't
He's
know.
Gordon.
We
He's
already
Bruce
had
Wayne.
them.
He's Batman. He's the Joker.
He's both faces of Two-Face.
Yeah.
He is.
Oh,
No, I
no,
want
I
Tommy
like.
Lee Jones. No. I'm sorry. I want Gary Oldman and Tommy Lee Jones in the movie together.
I kind of love the idea of like one half of him is Tommy Lee Jones and
Oh.
one half is Gary Oldman. Like,
Gary Oldman will be the burn side.
Of
Tommy
course,
Lee
of course.
Jones has to be the skin
Yeah.
side.
No,
I mean-
no.
actually, like at this point, I think Tommy Lee Jones has to be the Burn side, right? Have you seen Tommy Lee Jones lately? You know,
Just Jones from The Fugitive, though. Like, that's the Tommy Lee Jones that's on the other side.
There. He will not sanction this buffoonery. So, let's move on.
oh boy.
This is a tough one.
Oh, this is a great matchup. This next matchup, two true detectives. We've got Rust
yeah.
Cohle from
Just
True
one.
Detective versus Mare Sheehan from Mare of Easttown. I said it earlier. I asked Mike when Mare was getting some buzz and he had checked it out. I said like, "Hey, is this gonna scratch my True Detective itch?" And it did. Mare did it. Mare did the Rust Cohle thing, the thing that I love. And as much as it was surprising to see Matthew McConaughey become that guy after just years and years of rom-coms and just being, you know, a hunky dumb guy or whatever, turning into like Rust Cohle, I think it's as surprising, if not more, to see Kate Winslet turn into Mare after being, you know, period drama, you know,
Well,
leading lady, turning
yeah.
into down on her luck detective, you know, piece of shit. Like, just it's as impressive a transformation, if not more, in my mind.
Solo detective. She did everything by herself. She didn't have no partner.
For a couple episodes, she did.
Yeah.
Sure, but not even really. Like, I remember watching Mare, and I'm like, why is she doing this by herself? Why is there nobody with her?
Because the rest
Lone
of her
wolf.
town is incompetent. Like
Yeah. She's
everybody in that town is just hot
she's the
garbo.
dark side of Leslie.
Yeah.
She's got to get it done. Like
Yeah.
it's this itch that like she has to scratch, and she scratches it until she gets to the bottom of it.
Yeah, to give some credit to Mare's character, just saying she does pretty much. She's a detective by herself, whereas Eric, I know you truly enjoy a buddy cop thing, which is what you get out of True Detective.
Yeah, you like it. Rust is helped, maybe more than even I was gonna say mildly, but maybe even more than mildly by his back and forth with Woody Harrelson's character, like who I can't. What the hell is his name? Bud. I can't even think of his
Seems like
his
a bug.
name. But their dynamic is really great, and you know Mare doesn't have that, and
Right.
doesn't need
Not
that.
as
Maybe I
consistently.
mean, you know, she kind of has different because she's got relationships that she's dealing with a little bit more, both romantic and familial. You know, so
She's got a
She's-
lot of baggage.
yeah, she still has other characters to play off of. Just it's different. It's a different dynamic than what Rust Cohle has. So
She lives in a town full of constant reminders of all of her, well, not necessarily mistakes, but just like shit she had no control over. Like her son hung himself, like the all the flashbacks, you know, and it's a good portion of her character was that like she never dealt with that. She buried herself in her work. Relationships be damned, and you see that through her character too. She's gonna catch her perp regardless of whatever wall she's got to get through. Her best friends, that she's got to like
Husbands.
Husbands. And don't get me wrong, like that city is fucked up. It's like
Shit.
I like, friends' feelings be damned. Marriage did
Probably
the
put
right
a bunch
thing.
of rust coals in it.
But it's like, but a lot of it's like avoidance. Like she's so deep in this job, so deep in this like mystery that like she's running away from like all of her real at-home issues. She's not being attentive to her daughter. She's making things continuously more strained between her ex, who for better or for worse is still a part of her life. She's dating multiple men just to kind of get outside of herself. She's an imperfect character.
She could have easily become Rust.
Yeah.
Where she doesn't get her saving grace, whereas Rust gets it at the very end of the show, over a longer period of time in real time. And she gets hers at the end too, but she loses she only takes a few years to get out of that.
Yeah.
It seems.
I was going to ask actually on the endings of both of these series, like Mare, I think it's pretty cemented that like she's better now. She like knows to ask for help. She's healed. She's healed. She's at least in the process.
Fully,
right.
She's opening up. Yeah.
Exactly. Do we think? I mean, I feel like there's a glimmer of that in Russ Cole's character at the end, by the end of True Detective, but I don't know if it's as like cemented. Like I see a scenario where he gets out of the hospital and he's still Rust. He's the exact same dude.
He at least has one of the 500-pound gorillas off of his back. Like he has many.
There's a lot of gorillas.
Yeah, where Mare has one, I think.
She got a few gorillas.
She was helping everybody else with their gorillas to stave off, thinking about her own. Where Rust, he loses a child as well, loses a marriage.
Yeah.
Just goes right off the rails, goes into like deep undercover work, which give me a series of what that was like for Rust. Literally just has is suffering from constant hallucinations and can't never tell what's real. Has to navigate that for the rest of his life too, and to still come out on the other side somewhat, in control and just burying his head down into work and trying to figure out this case. I don't know. The characters are they go hand in hand. This is a good couple. These two together, they completed each other.
As two dead batteries don't start a car kind of scenario.
Tough.
There would just be no more crime in the world if these two could partner up.
They would solve every case.
Yeah, just done deal.
Or guy trying, of course.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's not the drama in Mare for Mare that I felt with Rust. There's multiple. Oh man, is Rust okay? Is he going to make it out of this thing? Is he going to figure this out?
Not as much. I think Mare of Easttown's more of like a psychological people dealing with trauma and like how they deal with it poorly and how they eventually get to some kind of resolution.
Layered for sure.
Yeah, especially like in the backdrop, like the city that it's in. It's like that city or like that area very much deals with a lot of those struggles. A lot of drug use, a lot of crime and shit like that. So.
It's a smaller kind of story as well, Mare. Like it's
only 7 episodes.
Well, just even just like it's more grounded in like when you get to the end and you see like okay, it was basically just like one family, their kind of drama that led to everything. It wasn't a grand, like, there were points in it where you think it's this grand conspiracy, like in the same way that True Detective is. True Detective is a grand conspiracy, like going deep into the government and everything else. With child enslavement rings and stuff like that. I mean, it gets deep, and the third season actually expands upon that in a little bit, in a way. But Mare is more of just like family drama in a sense. It's a smaller, more grounded narrative.
Intimate.
Small town crime case,
Yeah, so the stakes, I guess, are maybe a little smaller for Mare than they are
Absolutely.
It's just a very cathartic experience there. For me, it was just a full, just a full story.
Yeah.
Very satisfying.
I felt all the emotions. I laughed. I cried a lot. I cheered. It hit all the buttons for me.
Yeah.
Not
Gosh.
to say that True Detective didn't hit a lot of the buttons. Just
Mm.
I'm not trying to take anything away from either side of this argument. I knew this one was going to be a tough one.
Oh yeah.
Some of the lines that Rust have are just like so just I don't know, inspirational is not the word because they're like dark and they're just so like wild, but hitting home too.
Yeah, he kind of says the things a lot of us think and are like maybe ashamed to think, and definitely ashamed to say. And Rust has no shame. Like that's you know that from the first thing. Like it doesn't matter who he's talking to, what his situation is, or whatever else. Yeah, he's gonna
he is
the filter's gone.
He is who he is. Like to his core, he holds nothing back.
And honestly, Mare isn't far from that. I feel like she's got maybe just like a tinge more of respect or whatever like term you want to say. But like Mare is not far from that. Like Mare is going to tell it like it is a little bit too. She's cynical in a lot of the same ways. Like,
yeah, where Rust is completely nihilistic, where Mare has softer edges than Rust for sure.
There's a shred of humanity still in there,
and I think by the end of True Detective, some of that is Rust is able to shed off some of that and gain a different perspective. I think than just nothing matters, everything time is a flat circle stuff, which I think is strong for Rust.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that Rust could have carried True Detective? So let's take Woody Harrelson out of the equation. Could Rust have carried that show in the same way that Mare carries Mare of Easttown? At least by I feel like Mare carries that story from start to finish. Yeah. Everything else is just ancillary. You could kind of plug and play other characters.
Mare's a work mule.
Maybe Rust, you need his partner a little more. I don't know.
It's definitely a lesser show. Woody's really good in that.
Great.
And having that just what the fuck are you babbling of like that? Having that, it heightens. He's a good straight man to Rust's weird shit, and I think he does. Like I said, I want to see a Rust, prequel type thing or something somehow.
Write it.
I think it could be a solo detective situation, though. Like I think you would still probably have, just like you did with Zane or whatever his name was.
It was
like a
stable.
Stable.
Quicksilver.
Yeah. See, mixed it. But I think you could have somebody come in for a couple of episodes to give that little bit of, stretching, but I don't think you needed it full time in True Detective. It was great, like Mike said, it would take away from it, but I think it would still work.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we want to take it to the house? Take it to the vote?
Take it to the head. Take it to the head.
No.
I am gonna, by the slimmest of margins, I'm gonna go Russ Cohle. I just love it.
Didn't you pick him?
I did. Yeah, I think it was a me and a Mike. I think a double
Yeah,
pick.
you both fine.
Yeah, and he was a number 1 seed. I mean, you know, and for good reason. I mean,
down Kirby in that first round, man. Oof.
like Matthew McConaughey for me, I've seen so much of his work, and he was always to me just like, oh, he's the hunky, you know, rom-com guy, and I thought he was fine at it. Like, he's like what Ryan Reynolds is now, essentially, for a long time, and he just completely transformed into the coolest dude ever, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, so
Typecasted character who broke out of his mold.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I'm gonna go Mare. That show, mind you, I recently watched it too, but it hit all the buttons for me, man.
It's
A
good.
little bit more. It's that. I mean, we can debate this all day, but
I say Russ Cohle.
it's either
Oof.
way.
Do you want to go
Oh.
last, or do you want me to go?
You go, Bill. You go.
I'm pretty flippy floppy. Like, I came in knowing, like, yeah, I'm voting for Russ Cohle. That's who
Yeah,
I'm voting
pancake.
for. But every time we talk about it, I keep flipping and I keep flopping. I even thought about, like, all right, when it's my turn to vote, depending on if it's an even number, I'll vote for Russ, and if it's an odd number, I'll vote for Mare. But I decided not to do that. I decided to go Russ Cohle because I was just like, I thought about True Detective all day when I wasn't watching it. Like, once you start watching it, you're like so engrossed and like wanting to see what the fuck he's gonna do. He does have some bad things, but of course, as we said, Mare does too. I'm not a fan of him sleeping with his partner's wife. Shitty move. But
Mare does some
overall,
Mare does
she
some
does.
shitty things
She does.
too.
Yeah,
Yes.
as we said, they're very, very similar. It's hard to make the choice. But I would want to see more of what Russ Cohle. I would want to see more of Russ Cohle. I feel pretty done with Mare.
That's a
That's
good
how I
point.
feel. Yeah.
Yeah, I would have went Rust had I been the, decider. For me, watching True Detective, I was watching it for Rust more than the mystery, really.
Mm.
Where Mare, I was really invested in just finding out what went down.
How it's going down.
And Mare was the secondary to that. Where
Interesting.
Rust, and just I had to watch True Detective. There was year gaps.
Oh no.
I watched like 4 episodes and I had to stop because I'm like, fuck, Rust is going into this situation. I can't handle this right now.
Wow.
I think like when he's trying to like infiltrate that biker gang like party that's going on, I stopped. I stopped for a long time.
Couldn't deal.
Sorry, I
walked in
ruined your biker party.
Right. Yeah.
I understand that feeling so well, Mike. Like, I got to take breaks sometimes just to breathe, like watching some of these harder
Some
shows.
heavy stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
All
So
right.
that's Rust for the win.
Rust Cohle over Mare Sheehan, I think probably up until this point the best matchup we've had. I think just the most like synergistic in a bracket where we've just had these matchups where you're like, oh shit, it's weird that all of these things are like coming together when it was completely randomized. I think, that one was pretty amazing.
Good matchup.
Yeah. Speaking of randomized, the final matchup of round 3 of the bracket of nonsense pits Arthur Morgan from Red Dead Redemption 2 versus George Costanza from Seinfeld.
This is the SummerSlam deserved.
I don't want to talk about
Oh.
this one.
Let's
I
just-
don't want anyone to say anything. No.
So I think Mike spoiled it a little bit just a couple minutes ago. Arthur has surpassed Joel as like the leading man video game character, right? Yeah.
For me,
Wow.
yeah. Whereas Last of Us is an enjoyable game to play. It's fun to that combat is fun. I think the stealth is fun, and Joel is a great character. You know,
Very fluid.
I did not enjoy playing Red Dead.
You've mentioned that. It's a very long game.
Yeah, where Last of Us is like a 20, no, maybe even 15-hour game if you're really taking your time. Red Dead is not. It is like a fucking 80-hour game. And yeah, for me, Arthur is just such a strong character in a video game, in a Western, whatever you want to call it. He's a number one Duke of New York for me.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Against an actual Duke of New York. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Wow.
Oof.
Stanza.
Georgie Porgy. Damn.
Yeah, this is a tough one in a different way. I feel like George Costanza is such a like, we said Taika Waititi is like the patron saint of this podcast, but like George Costanza's like right up there. It seems like just like
George is
everyone
my
loves...
patron saint.
Right of your
Regardless
life,
of
right?
Machine Nonsense.
Oh my god.
Man,
Yeah.
he's so perfect. I don't know, like he's the perfectly imperfect.
Absolutely.
It's weird for me because like I don't have as strong a connection, nearly as strong a connection to George Costanza as almost everyone else on the pod, and pretty much almost everyone else in the world. You know, like Seinfeld is a phenomenon, and George is a phenomenon within a phenomenon.
Absolutely.
And Arthur is just like Mike said. I mean, he's
the shining star in a rough, dark sky.
That's poetic. But Arthur's tragic. He's like, deep. You know, like I would say the one thing that's holding Arthur back from being like just perfect in a sense is that game, at least a little bit, is about choice. Like you do have a lot of freedom in Red Dead Redemption. And you have the freedom to be a pretty awful, human until the very end. Like the actual story beats of Arthur and, what he comes to realize about himself and about the world and everything else. Like it's a man coming to grips with the end of an era, with the end of his life, with his choices, growing in every single way, and it's powerful and it's like redemptive and everything else. But you can spend a lot of time within that just like brutally murdering people without any sort of remorse or, just robbing. And it's a GTA style game where you can kind of do whatever you want in a sense. So there is a little bit of like, what is it, cognitive dissonance or whatever.
Yeah.
Sure, right. And it even in this main story, when you're forced to like get into gun battles with, the Pinkertons or whatever else, like you are an outlaw. You are kind of on the wrong side of the law, and everything else. So just in and of itself, you're a bad guy, doing bad things. But you're supposed to care about that bad guy doing bad things, and I do care about him, but like, yeah. So it's a little like, man, how much can I really like? Should I really care as much about this guy as I do by the end of that game? Because he's a bad guy, really. Like,
yeah, good
He
character.
wants to do better.
Bad guy.
Yeah, he's he's coming to he's looking back and like, man, why I've been following this guy, this fucking crazy dude my whole life. I look up to he has to, betray his hero in Dutch. He sees like his other father figure just murdered in Josiah. What I forget that Hosea.
Yeah.
Hosey?
And he contracts this illness, basically because of his ill deeds, trying to fucking wrangle up money that is owed. Contracts tuberculosis, I believe.
Yeah.
Hey, baby.
And is trying to reconcile with that, and it just succeeds so well. He always finds a way to find a new character along the story that is like, whether it's the nun towards the end of the game or the family that he completely fucking fucks over and you're just trying to help this family throughout the rest of the game. You keep encountering them, and the mother turns to prostitution, and the son is fucking an asshole or whatever. And you get to see like Arthur really has regrets and is trying to come to terms with that stuff. And George regrets nothing.
Absolutely.
He has a way. He has, he's a cowboy in his own right. He has his own rules. He has his own. I've kind of developed my own philosophies and ways of life based on George.
He's just such a good character.
He's so fun to watch, right? It's just so fun to see what he's getting into.
I learn a lot of what not to do in life from George Costanza.
It's just the stakes are never too high with George. There's always just these awkward minor stakes that
but he makes them seem like they're insurmountable.
God, just like the idea of sneaking into your girlfriend's apartment to change out a message that you hope she didn't listen to on her answering machine, and you have to coax your best friend into getting into that apartment, and you're talking about it, you're planning it outside the apartment, and what code word are we going to use, tippy toe and all that.
The marble rye.
Yeah, like I'm going to use a fishing rod to raise up a marble rye to impress this family or whatever this dinner I'm at.
Gary loses a bit of his humanity in that process too.
And George and all the characters in Seinfeld have to come up with all the shit they went to. I for one defend the Seinfeld finale.
Okay.
In a show that's not really it's about nothing, but it's about just being, an ass
living
in a way.
And
having all of that come back to bite them at the end. Them to actually have to pay a price that they never really have to pay ever.
Yeah, and that is kind of a poetic justice in a way, because they skirt through.
They also get tuberculosis, really. Like, it's kind of ironic.
George's getting something in prison, I'm sure. He's
right.
The thing is, like,
it is not the summer of George in that.
It's amazing, like, despite all of his neuroticism and all of his shortcomings and just not being a very, like, capable person, he skirts through, like, so much shit throughout that show. Like, whether it be his job or, like, just relationships, like, And it's so funny, like how shit happens. Like, you know, he's engaged to be married, and he doesn't want to go through with it, and his fiance dies from licking the glue on cheaply bought envelopes that he didn't want to help her lick the envelopes to. It's
Right.
like, and it's like, and they're in the hospital when he gets the news, and it's like, do I celebrate? Am I a bad person for celebrating this? You know,
Right.
like it's like, but you know, he's still like. You know, it's like, thank God that's done with. You know, it's like,
Just like his mom catches him fucking cranking it as like a 40-year-old man. Like he was thumbing through what was it, Victoria's Secret or something at his parents' place. And my son treating his body like an amusement park. You know, he almost kills his mother from just the shock.
And then the sponge baths.
Right. He just wants to visit his mom in the hospital to see the silhouette of a sexy doctor giving a beautiful woman a sponge bath. George is he's in a league of his own. I don't know.
I gotta say in this matchup specifically, and I guess I mean any matchup George ends up in, he's going to kind of be the more unique of the two characters. Like we've kind of said with like Joel and Arthur, and I mean you can go down the list of like middle-aged white guy cowboy-esque redemptive character. You know, there's a lot. They're all great in their own ways, but it's definitely an archetype, and I don't know if you could say that about George. I think you use the term one of one, Mike, and that might be the most apt thing, at least our bracket, you know, like.
There's been shows since, you know, your Sonnies, even like a Shameless, that are trying to chase that Seinfeld cringe formula of, you know, just a group of, you know, morally questionable characters.
They don't have the finesse that Seinfeld had. Like it just seems so
Seinfeld pulled it off without being too crude.
Yeah.
There's a little more highbrow to Seinfeld, of course.
Yeah, you have to kind of like push the envelope further and further with, you know, like a show that came out in the 90s isn't really going to play, you know, in the post MTV era, you know.
For me,
as
it
we're living
plays.
in...
I don't know.
I feel you. I just think that like whole plot lines, like it's hard to recreate. You gotta like, if you're gonna try to take that archetype and you know, you've got to go to the extreme, and you guys brought up, you know, multiple examples of that, and I would say like Workaholics as well, you know, but there's a dozen, you know, versions of that, like
definitely built an archetype and made a few shows successful.
Right.
I mean, it's two sides of the coin again. George is all neuroses and selfishness, and Arthur is, you know, honor and
selflessness
and charm and stuff like that. He's very close to Cliff in a way, where he's just so charming. You look past the other stuff, you know, the questionable stuff.
George doesn't have
the wife murder, and so forth.
It's a good call, though. That's I like that.
Or George, I'm never rooting for George because there's never a reason. Like, you know that George is always going to fall on his face at some point.
Oh yeah, he even knows that. He's very self-aware of it.
Oof, I don't know.
Do we want to call it then?
But, you know.
Do we want to put this one to the final vote of round 3?
I do. I'm ready if everyone else is.
Yeah.
I thought this was just you trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, yeah, I guess so.
It might be.
We're here to talk it out with you.
Yeah. This was Mike's therapy session.
Talking it out.
Just remember, Mike, out of these two characters, if you needed, you know, to figure out a tough decision, who of these two would you pour your heart out to? Just remember that. I would pour my heart out to Arthur Morgan.
Well, there's like 3 other people on this bracket that you could do that to as well. Because you mentioned it's a very archetypal character. We've eliminated quite a few characters along the same character identity line. So,
I vote George.
George.
Arthur.
There you go.
I gotta sit at the booth with George. I have to. I can't.
We're going to the diner.
I can't imagine who I'd be without George. In a way, I don't know. It's
all good.
I dig it.
I've never been more happy about this podcast.
I love Arthur. I love him.
44 episodes. It's all paid off, guys.
But,
All right.
Georgie boy, he's like, can't turn my back.
Well, I knew it going into this one. As soon as George made the bracket, he was going to be a hard out, and he's still kicking. He's made the Elite 8. So we have our final 8 members of the Bracket of Nonsense. They are Leslie Knope, Big Boss, Tony Stark, Joel Miller, Lou Bloom, Sirius Black, Rust Cohle, and George Costanza.
That right side of the bracket's kind of weird, man.
What a matchup we're going to have there.
Oh, man.
We got 2 video game characters left. Joel and Big Boss, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue that Iron Man's a video game character.
We ain't arguing that.
Iron Man.
2 from cinema, 2 from video games, and 4 from television. Yeah. Nice.
Television holding strong. Wow.
Remember saying at the beginning of this that TV was the easiest. Like, I don't know.
There's just a lot more TV.
Yeah. It's
We've said as well. It's that like
Length
long
of time.
story that you get to have with those characters. So
Yeah.
it helps.
Wow. Fun.
You know, they ask you to the prom. They take you to the dance. You know, they get on one knee and propose to you. You buy a house together. You know.
Sometimes you do all those things with these people.
Mm-hmm.
All right, folks. This was episode 44 of The Machine of Nonsense. We got our bracket of nonsense down from an initial 64 characters to 8. We divided it by 8. That's math for you guys. 8 remain. They're the Elite 8. I don't know what I was going to say about them, but that's what they are.
The hateful 8.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some hateful things said about these characters, I think, going forward.
Fuck Ariel.
Oh no! Lou Bloom all the way.
Oh.
Well, Lou Bloom, Dark Knight. That's what I want.
So if you want to see the thrilling conclusion to the bracket of nonsense, please subscribe to the podcast, review us, give us a nice 5-star or whatever on Apple or whatever, service you use. Join in our conversations on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We have a Facebook fan group called Monstars. We'd love to hear from you. Tell us what we've said right about these characters and who shouldn't have been cut. We'd love to hear from you. We could also hear your pretty voice at anchor.fm/machine of nonsense. Leave us a voice message and we will put it on a future pod. This was episode 44. I'm your host, Eric. I was joined by Kayla, Aaron, Tomas, and Mike. We got down to the Elite 8 of the Bracket of Nonsense. Next time, we will get it down even further. We're getting out of here, and we're saying goodbye.
See ya.
Fuck Ariel.